These are stained glass grinder bits. Now, yesterday I told you all about them. Today I'm going to show you how to actually use them. Listen, I know you guys want to see the Labubu's, but we got to get through the not so fun stuff to actually get them made. So for the Labubu faces, we are going to need hole bits, which we talked about yesterday. I showed you the 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch hole bit. Now, like I mentioned yesterday, it is not the same setup as a standard grinder bit. We have to actually hold the sponge in our hand as we're grinding. So we are completely soaking the sponge and we are pushing it up against the top of that grinder bit and then sitting our glass on top. And we are applying light pressure downwards and gently rocking back and forth until that bit blasts through the glass. Sometimes it can pop through and it can be a little bit scary. Other times it's a little bit smoother, but you will get used to that. Speaking of getting used to things, it is going to take practice to get to know where your hole is exactly going to pop through your glass. Because we can't see exactly where we're drilling, you want to bend down, look kind of underneath your glass, and you can get a good estimate as far as where that hole is going to pop through. As with all things in stained glass, the more you practice, the better you will be at it. But it is a very important tool to have, especially if you don't want something like a ring saw. And even so, if you want to use something like a separating blade, you're going to need a hole bit. Having a simple bit like this is just going to expand the horizon so much for you as far as what you can create with stained glass and the cuts you do or don't have to make. You can grind out a lot with a hole bit if you don't ever want to get a ring saw. So I highly recommend them. So one more demonstration, guys. I am just pushing that sponge up against the bit, gently pushing down on the glass, gently rocking back and forth, and it pops right through. And just a heads up, you guys, because we are holding the sponge up in the air and you want it to be very, very wet, we want everything to be nice and cold and lubricated. It is going to make a bit of a mess. So if you have a Mr. Splash, a splash guard, a grinder bin, whatever you want, I would highly recommend getting one of those to use it. So moving on to our next bit, we are going to talk about the ripple bit. So again, this is made specifically for ripple glass or very textured glass. And you have 2 slots to choose from, and that is going to be up to your discretion depending on what glass you have. But at least we can put the sponge in the back of the grinder. This is running just like a standard bit. So I've chosen the bottom slot, so I've lined that up directly with the bottom of my grinder grate. And I'm just going to simply push the glass inside that little notch, and it is going to grind off the edges just a little bit. So when I go into foil, it is going to give me that super smooth edge. It's quite easy to use as long as you have it lined up well. You're going to use it essentially just like a standard grinder bit. Because of those deep notches in this particular bit, sometimes I'll bring in a secondary sponge just to make sure everything is sufficiently getting wet and cold. But that's it, guys. Go in and use it like a regular bit, and boom, you've got a nice smooth surface to go in and effortlessly copper foil your edges. Make sure to follow for the rest of the bits and more educational stained glass content.